Hi, good morning. Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. I'm here with David Garness from the Garness Group. How you doing, David?
Yeah, I'm good. Hello. Hi.
Hello there. So, as always, with all our guests, if you could give us a little bit more background as to who you are, David, what you do, how long you've been doing it for, please.
Yeah. I basically head up the Garness Group, which comprises of several businesses involved in the property sector. The primary business is Garness Jones, which is a commercial property consultancy. That incorporates Barry Crooks and Co., who specialise in hospitality and licensed and leisure property. It's a very niche expertise. The other businesses are pure block management that deal with the block management of residential properties, and we also have Grow Residential Management that deals with letting management of residential properties again.
Fantastic. So, quite a few things going on there. When did you start it? How did you get into it, and what year was that?
I started work in the property industry in 1985. I was a school leaver, effectively, so not a traditional route of university. And I was offered a job by a local business. I then that was in 1985. I became self-employed in 1991, so that was fairly early in my career. And I worked in a business called Pathway Commercial, which I suppose I sort of learned really what I needed to do from running a business in that company. And then Garness Jones was formed in 1996. Garness Jones then really picked up sort of various elements of work. It was primarily known for its commercial property consultancy, but we also picked up quite a lot of residential work relating to residential lettings, management, etc. So a decision was taken after some time to then move those operations into subsidiaries, hence Grow Residential Management and Pure Block Management. So, and then the acquisition of Barry Crooks and Co. was at the beginning of 2024. That was primarily to do with the fact that we were pretty dominant in the Hull and East Yorkshire area, which is where the business was founded, and we wanted to spread geographically. So York was a natural or organic move, and in effect, being based in York covers the whole of North Yorkshire. So we've increased our footprint by doing that.
Brilliant. So, in all that kind of development time of the business, how would you describe the journey to date? If there's kind of one word, if there's one word that can sum it up and then expand on it, because you've covered over that time frame a hell of a lot of different market conditions, shall we say?
Yeah, I'm not sure you can put that answer into one word.
Sometimes it's roller coaster, sometimes it's exciting, sometimes it's challenging, kind of, yeah.
Interesting,
yeah.
If you want one word, I mean, look, I think from my point of view, I love what I do, and I love the property industry. So I find I think the business has actually thrived and we've grown when markets have been difficult and trade has been difficult. That's something that has been a really cornerstone of growing something from scratch. In the property sector, many businesses have been trading for decades, if not longer. So we are a relatively young business for the property industry. So I think I've looked at where there are difficulties in the general economy as an opportunity. And when I look back, those are the periods when I've been able to grow the businesses the most.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, what would be your not secret necessarily, but the ability to be able to succeed in those conditions, and from starting out yourself? I think you kind of summarized it there. What would you then say makes you different, I guess, or why people would choose you over other people?
Service levels are absolutely key. You know, they've got to be at a high level. I find the property industry service levels on the whole are not great. The industry doesn't have a great reputation for that reason. So that I feel as though is for me is a fairly easy win. And I tend to sort of run the businesses where we do what we say we'll do the basics really well all of the time, consistently. And then that gives you sort of room to go the extra mile for clients or on a particular projects. And also allows you to play the long game in terms of developing the businesses. I'm never after a sort of a short-term quick win in terms of my style of running the business. So, and because property is a relatively slow-moving sector, but equally for the clients who you act, it's a very, very important asset. I think if people can identify that we run a sort of stable, organised organisation, then they have trust in you. And when they've vested that trust in you, if you then deliver a great service, you'll repeat the business and grow it. Sounds incredibly simple, but
yeah.
But I think simplicity is the key. Don't overcomplicate things.
That's it. It's definitely clarity is key, but sometimes in business it can be the hardest thing to achieve. So there's a good sort of ethos shining through. And is that in terms of your team to be able to, because you can't obviously do it alone, how have you managed to transfer that kind of ethos to your team and leading your team?
Lead by example. Don't ask people to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. And I do have a great team. You're absolutely spot on with that. We're now numbered just over 40 people in the company, and I think everybody we have, has the right sort of values and culture. And I think culture in a business is really, really important. It's the people who come into the business have got to fit into that culture, and that's something we work sort of fairly hard on. And in terms of it's instilling that point I made earlier about doing all the basics well all of the time and keeping those values high. I think the other aspect of that is that if we have team members that are not fitting into the culture and our values, that we look for them to move on as soon as possible. And I don't mean that in a sinister or threatening way. For many employees where it's just not working, we have a very healthy, open discussion, and they move on. And lots of examples, and I'm proud to say they've moved on to other careers, other areas, other locations, and thrived and done really well. So it's not. I don't want you to confuse that with being some sort of hard-nosed, fire them at will sort of approach. It's not that at all. It's just making sure it fits for both parties.
It makes a lot of sense what you're saying in terms of leaning into something that's not right as soon as possible and having that open dialogue, that kind of trust in yourself to do it, and trust in the process that it's the right thing to do and doing it as soon as possible. That's a brilliant share. Thank you very much for that, David. In terms of what the future looks like then for you guys and any challenges or opportunities ahead, subject to what you can predict, how are things looking at the moment?
Very positive. We're just coming to another sort of end of our business year, and we've seen growth again, and there's been growth year on year for, I can't really sort of remember, to be honest. And that's been in sort of more challenging market conditions in the commercial property sector. And that's an area of the business that has grown again. So the outlook, I think we sort of can see sort of worldwide, if you like, that there's a lot of uncertainty and disruption. But as I mentioned earlier, I see that really as an opportunity where there is some sort of disruption in the market or the economy. We're an agile business, and being the size that we are, we're big enough to compete, but we're small enough to be agile and move with the market conditions or service needs, which we'll just continue to do. So in terms of the future, we've got, sort of ambitious growth plans in all parts of the business. Not going to go into that sort of detail now, but it'd be geographical as well as client base led.
Fantastic. So moving on to yourself a little bit more, again, leaning on all that experience that you've got and sort of the ambitions for growth, and you've grown it to where it is today with a team of 40. What's the biggest lesson you can share? I'm asking you that kind of one-word question or answer for the question again, but then expanding on it, or something that stands out for you that is the biggest thing that I have learned to date since going into business for myself and driving it forward.
Persistence.
Yeah, it's a good one. And tell me more about the persistence angle of that. How's that been for you?
I think you just got to keep going. I mean, I see myself as a self-employed person. So, when you're self-employed, you eat what you kill, and things don't go right all of the time. But I think as long as you sort of follow your instincts and you've got that long game, that vision of where you want to be. If you get a bit of a knock or a bit of bad news, you just pick up and go again. You're just persistent with it. So that's it, really.
That is a great summary, and yeah, we'll leave it there. So, what inspires you to do what you do then, David? So, kind of a little bit different. You're learning lessons. You're growing a business, building a team. Persistence is something that, yes, a trait you have to have. But what is it that kind of gets you out of bed in the morning? Is it working for yourself and kind of just finding your own path, going with your instinct? Is it team members, customers, all of the above, family, anything like that?
I think if you like one-word answers, I think winning.
Yeah.
Whether that's a small win or a big win, that's sort of what pushes. I mean, obviously, I have a family, I have children, and that is an obvious motivator. But I think that's a motivator. I don't think that's particularly sort of unique.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I've always got a plan. I've always got a list of things to do. I've got objectives I want to achieve, and it's a case of just sort of ticking those off. And then, when you've got those sort of big milestones, whether it's annual or, longer sort of periods, it's then when you sort of tick that off and you've achieved it, you look back and you sort of realize you earned it. It's because, you get up early, you get on with things, you stay focused. So, and it's sort of, I suppose I love my sport. And so the analogy is if you train and train and train for sort of weeks or months for something, for an event, and it goes really well, probably all of those training days a lot of them, I should say, you didn't enjoy. And there was many where you get up and didn't really want to do it and didn't enjoy it. But it's that sort of winning achievement at the end of it. So yeah, that's it.
Another good answer that we can share out. That's great, thank you. In terms of meeting yourself again then at 18 and giving yourself a piece of advice before you started out, what would that be?
Listen to advice, take it and act upon it.
Nice. Anything in particular that resonates for you in the property sector, or
not particularly? I think there's a difference between persistence and stubbornness, and I think to stubbornly pursue an idea or a way of doing something, or a direction you're going in, when there's sort of pretty good advice telling you to change that or at least think about it. I don't think I've always listened, in that respect, and I've been stubborn rather than persistent. So yeah, the advice to the 18-year is, listen to. I think also listen to the right advice as well, because it's interesting when you're self-employed or running your own business. Lots of people pop up to tell you what you should be doing or what what you're doing wrong, and there's some well-meaning people, but I tend to find the well-meaning people are the ones where you have a conversation, or you're effectively asking that question, you're getting some feedback. So it's actually picking the right advice as well. So I've probably not done that so well, and it sort of set me back at times.
Good stuff. What a good share. Thank you for that. So lastly, just before we end the interview, in terms of latest news about what you're up to, I know we talked about growth plans and Barry Crooks in 2024, but if there's anything else, or even if it's a case of sharing your website or websites for people if they want to get in touch or find out more about yourselves and what you do, feel free to share it now.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the best place to go is garnessgroup.co.uk. That is effectively a holding website, but it connects you to all the different businesses. So it depends on what you're looking for, because we've got quite a range of services there, but you can then plug into each individual business. You can see the ethos of the group, as well as explore what services we deliver.
Excellent. Well, thanks, David. It's been a real pleasure talking with you. Thank you for sharing all of those experiences and advice that you've given. And I wish you all the best for the future success of the business and this next growth phase.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thank you.